Hi, welcome back. So today we'll be taking a look at Windows Server 2019 Preview Build 17639. We'll be going through the installation process for this new OS that I believe is planned to be released fully later this year. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we are, we're sitting at the login screen, or not the login screen, but the setup screen once you insert the ISO into your system. So you get a few options here as far as selecting the language that you want to install. So I'm just going to leave everything here on English and go ahead and click Next. Then you get install now. So if you're familiar with previous version of Windows Server installation process, this should be very familiar to you. Not a whole lot has changed as far as the visual representation of things here. So go ahead and hit install now. And it'll go ahead and say setup is starting. So we'll give that a few moments. All right, and then here it prompts you for a product key. So actually, normally for the preview releases, you don't need to provide a product key. There are some freely published product keys available for the Windows Server 2019 preview releases that you can key in. Thing to be aware of is that these preview releases do expire. I believe this release expires sometime in July, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm just going to say I don't have a product key for this. And then since I'm using the long-term servicing channel ISO, I have the option of installing the desktop experience as well as like the core release. One thing to note, I noticed it doesn't say core or anything here, just says Windows Server Standard, which what I would assume would be the core equivalent, as well as Data Center. That would be also the core equivalent. For my purposes, so I want to have the maximum amount of features available that I can play with. So I'm going to do Windows Server Data Center, and I'm also going to install the desktop experience. So I'm going to select that and go ahead and click Next. And then it's just kind of the notices and license terms. This is Microsoft pre-release software, so you can kind of read through that. Check the I accept the licensing terms. Go ahead and click Next again. And then you have option for upgrading or doing a custom in-place install Windows only. So since this is a brand new system that I'm using, I'm just going to click on the custom install Windows only option. And I have just a single 60 gigabyte hard drive in the system, so I'm going to go ahead and let Windows format it and partition it any way that it likes. So I'm just going to click Next through this. So that should take just a moment, and now we're off to the races. So not a whole lot of answers or questions that you need to answer to get going for the installation. So we'll give this a few minutes to install, and then we'll continue with the setup. Alright, so here we are on the first screen you'll be presented with after installation, and everything has installed successfully. So first thing, you're going to be prompted to provide a username or a password for your administrator account. So I'm going to go ahead and I actually don't like that password. Let's do that one. So go ahead and key in your password twice and hit finish. Alright, and now we're at our login screen, so I'm going to go ahead and unlock my system. Key in my password. Yep. Let's try it one more time. There we go. And that'll go ahead and log us in for the first time. So I'll give that a few more minutes, like we're sitting on a black screen. I'm getting the personalized settings, setting everything up. Alright, now like we're fully into the OS. I'm running Windows Server Data Center 17639. As you can see, just at a glance, doesn't look a whole lot different visually. Everything looks pretty similar to what you've seen in previous releases. It's looking very much like a Windows 10 desktop experience for the most part here. So one thing I noticed, at least Server Manager has not launched yet. Oh, there we go. It just took a while. Yeah, I was expecting Server Manager to launch automatically on that first login attempt. So that's loading. And as you can see here, this view also looks very much similar to what you will typically see on, say, like a Windows 2016 installation or server manager experience. So I'm going to go ahead and click over to the local server tab here. Then you can see here, just kind of get some basic information about the system as it's loading up. And so see, it generated a random name, so I can later change that. Similarly, just like with any other OS, except the time zone and things like that. Notice that I did not activate the product, so I can do that later. And as I mentioned, there are product keys freely available out that Microsoft has published for using these preview releases to activate these. So yeah, this experience is very much similar, not too much change from the previous releases. Let's take a look at manage, add roles and features, and let's take a look at what features are available. Is anything stand out to me at a glance as far as new features? These looks pretty much similar. I don't see anything that looks particularly new or different at a glance, like the typical ones that I saw on 2016. So we jump over to features. These also look pretty similar. So we got containers there, host guardian. Yeah, most of these looks pretty familiar. Network virtualization role. So quite a lot of roles. Some storage, software load balancer. So these two here, I believe these are new. So I don't recall seeing these. Storage migration service and storage migration service proxy. I believe those may be a new feature in 2019, possibly. Probably need to double check on that, but I believe these are new. And let's see what else we see here. Everything else looks pretty much similar. So Windows subsystem for Linux. I don't recall if I've seen this on the server before. I know it is available as a feature on Windows 10. I don't recall if I've ever seen it here on the server before. So that's another thing I may have to look into a little bit deeper to see if, and compare, like say on my 2016, if this is a feature that's available as a checkbox here. So we're going to go ahead and cancel that. I'm not going to install any roles here. The purpose of this video was just to kind of quickly go through the installation process to get you familiar with it. As you can see, it's very much similar to what you experienced on 2016. Nothing really has changed in that installation experience if you're going through the GUI and things like that. So hopefully this has been useful, and I'll see you in the next one.